Hey everyone, I'm Bill. I'm with Kalimoto TV. Today we're talking about our 2019 Ford Fiasco ST. I know you guys have been asking for updates on this and what's going on with it. It's been crazy, so I'll bring you guys up to speed. If you guys haven't seen the first two videos, go back, take a look at them. I'll do a quick review, and then we'll get right into where we are today and what's been happening for the last month and a half. So bought a 2019 Ford Fiesta ST for Bogna in the very end of January 2019, so this year, just a couple 3 months ago, and developed a water leak in the back within a couple days. So we took it back to Rhonda Pratt, the Ford dealer where we bought it. I wish that, first of all, let me just talk about Rhonda Pratt real quick. I'll get this rant over. Rhonda Pratt's the worst flipping Ford dealer you can buy a car from. Don't ever, ever, ever buy a car from Rhonda Pratt. They will treat you like absolute garbage once they get your money. So don't ever go and buy a car from Rhonda Pratt. Sorry, rant over. Took the car back to them. They couldn't duplicate this leak. So a couple days later, we got the car back. Second time we had the car, drove the car less than 200 miles, and it was raining again, water under the floorboard. Took it back to Rhonda Pratt. They tore the whole car apart. In short, they were supposed to give us another car. Then they reneged and lied to us about the replacement vehicle. So that's where you can pick up on the first video. Then after we published the first video, we were told to come and give them their replacement vehicle back and to pick up our car. Our car was done. So we didn't want to have any problems. After the first video, another Ford dealership locally had contacted me and said, hey, we'll help you take care of this, bring the car over here. So we've kind of felt fine going from the one dealership to the second dealership. So when we picked up the car from the second dealership, if you haven't seen the second video, this is exactly what customer service you're going to get when you go to Rhonda Pratt. So watch the second video and tell me that you don't think that they have the greatest customer service in the world. So we pick up the car. We basically, Bogna took it through the car wash. And first of all, they gave us the car back with water in the taillight. There was just water in the taillight. And I even pointed it out to the guy. The guy was like, what do you want us to do, right? So we took it back to the second dealer, and they treated us very well. They, look, let's see what we can get. When we took it to the second dealer, the whole goal was simply to get a replacement vehicle. So now we're kind of to where we are. So back and forth with that dealership for about a good week, almost every day. I would go over there and be like, hey, can we get with Ford? Can you guys get with the Ford representative? We emailed the Ford rep locally, or the Northern California rep or Western region rep, and said, look, at this point, we didn't want any money back. We weren't trying to get over on Ford. We weren't trying to get any money out of Ford. We simply wanted a replacement vehicle. That's all we wanted. Take this vehicle back, give us a new vehicle. Look, if you guys do that, you guys don't have to lemon this car. In California, when they lemon cars, the title has a different lemon law buyback title, which just kills the depreciation. Nobody's going to know exactly why this was bought back, so they take no risk. So a $20,000 car is now worth like $10,000. So take the car back, don't lemon it, take the car back, give us another car, sell it as a used car. So we were trying to get this from Ford. Now, meanwhile, I talked about it a little bit, but parts had already arrived for the car. We were gonna put the build on the channel for you guys. We're gonna do this car up a little bit. So couldn't get anywhere, absolutely nowhere. Like, we were calling representatives, we called customer service. So now we're 2 weeks into the car, 3 weeks into the car, and now we've got to make our first payment. So we contacted Ford Motor Credit, which is who financed the car. Ford financed the car. and just simply ask them, look, we're going through this situation. Is there any way that you can give us some payment relief? Not that we necessarily needed it, but why should we be paying for a car we don't even have? So can you guys give us some payment relief as far as, and what I asked them specifically was, can you please defer the payment until the end of the loan? And we'll pick this up, but we don't have the car. So why should we be paying on the car? Now, all the while we've got $3,000 in parts in the garage. We're paying for insurance on the car, and we're paying the car payment. So the car's sitting over at the other dealer, and, basically it evolves into Ford is requiring us to go through the lemon buyback program, which, if you guys have gone through the lemon buyback program, it's in its own is very complicated, and we were told it was going to take 30 to 45 days. Now, mind you, we're almost 60 days into this process, but we were told it was going to take 30 to 45 days. So we basically were just pushing, can you just please replace the car? Nothing. We couldn't get an answer. Nobody told us no, but nobody told us yes. And every day we were on the Ford with Ford customer service and Ford financing and Ford reps and Ford dealers, and it just got to the point where we couldn't get anywhere. So we ended up having to go down the route of the lemon law buyback, and so we filed the claim with Ford. Ford's like, oh, you've got to go through this process, and we thought that they were just going to. When we first started the process, actually, we thought we had gotten somewhere. We thought that we were actually going to get somewhere, but we quickly found out that it was the buyback program. So we go through the program, and we start filling out the paperwork and stuff like that. And so now we're about a month into the car dropped off for the third time. So we're almost a full month. So the lemon law buyback in California, there's two requirements, and it should be a little bit different. I wish that they would look at it different. If you bought a car and you were in this situation, there should be a different clause to the buyback program, but there's not. So we have to go through the buyback. So 3 repairs, unfixable repairs, which the second dealer actually did replace the rear tail lamp for a second time, but third on the leak repair. And they actually called me, and they're like, the tail lamp is actually, the new tail lamp actually does have a leak in it as well. We're not sure if it's a defective tail lamp or if there's some issues with the harness that plugs into the tail lamp, but there is there's a leak in the tail lamp again. So that was the third time, and now the second portion of it is, or it's been at the dealer for over 30 days. And so the dealer pretty much, I'd gone back about the 30-day time, and one of the service manager had said, I thought that's what you wanted. I thought you just wanted it to sit here for 30 days because the car hadn't been moved in about 30 days. It had sat in the same parking spot. And I was like, well, I guess this is the route we got to go through. So we started filling out the paperwork. And so finally, we get contact from a representative, or Bogdan gets contact from the representative down in Detroit. I believe it's Detroit. And says, congratulations on the buyback. So they have the buyback as there's like it's a website, and you log into it and you put all your information in. You can upload documents and stuff like that. So we start that process. Bogna, as soon as she gets that process, she immediately uploads all the documents, all the service orders, all of everything that they asked for. So this was like on a Monday. On Wednesday, Bogna had received an email from our representative, and she had stated that we had received our welcome call, and that Bogna needed to upload some documents to this website. So first of all, we never received a welcome call. We still haven't received the welcome call. We've talked to the representative, but we've never received a welcome call. Second, what they wanted us to upload, what they wanted Bogna to upload, she had already uploaded it. So clearly the representative just, there's steps, and she was filling her steps. So Bogna called the representative on Thursday, and and apparently that representative had been out all week. So how can she give us a welcome call? How could she, right? So she's just pushing buttons, and that no other representative would help us. So we wait. I think mid next week, Bogna gets a phone call from the lady, finally. Now, I'm going to go on another short rant. I apologize. The customer service. So this is one thing that's Ford's biggest problem. And I think if Ford would turn their customer service up a bit, a lot of these issues could be solved. We wouldn't be in this problem if Rhonda Pratt had better customer service. We wouldn't be, later I'll talk to you about where we are with the car, but we wouldn't be there if this lady had better customer service. She could give two shits about her job, and she could give two shits about the company that she works for. And it's very sad that nowadays we've lost this customer service, and we've got people that they're there to tick the time, right? And they get their paycheck and they leave. And if they've got PTO time, they're going to take it, right? And they just don't care. I call it ownership, taking ownership in your job, right? God, if we could have back in the days when your employees all loved their job and they all loved what they did, it would be such a different situation. This lady, two shits, couldn't care less who we are, couldn't care less that she worked for Ford, couldn't care less that Ford was having to take a $25,000 loss on this car. And we're probably one of many thousands of clients, hundreds of clients that she has to deal with monthly. This is a hard time for people. There are people that aren't fortunate enough to be able to pay for this car and go out and get a second car, or have to pay for a rental car. We were lucky enough to be able to get a loaner car from the dealer. Some dealers, they don't offer that. You've got to go and rent the car. And some people don't have that ability. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was 19 when she had to buy back her car. She's 19 and she couldn't afford to buy another car, and they didn't give her a loaner car. She had to go to work. So it's unfortunate. If Ford would just take some care and some time with their customers, I think that they would be in a better position. So Ford, I hope you're listening. So back and forth, the lady calls, finally talks to Bogna. Bogna's like, look, we never received a welcome call. The lady's like, I never gave you a welcome call. I uploaded this documents. The lady's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Bogna's like, well, you sent me an email that said this. And she's like, no, I flat out told Bogna, no, I've never sent you anything. I just got the file on this Monday, which she received information the following week. Bogna did. This lady's claiming, I just received a file on Monday this week, and I've never contacted you. And Bogna's like, I have an email from you. No. I've never. That's not true. So the fiasco is now in full on, right? Full throttle. So we're going back and forth, and this lady has become completely unreachable. She won't return anybody's calls. She won't return my calls. She won't return the dealership calls. We've had the dealership talk to inside management that can't get answers from this lady. This lady won't let us talk to any other representative. She won't even let us talk to one of her supervisors. So it's like our hands are tied. We have no control over this. So things start to pop up. Every once in a while, we start to get little ticks of something happening. I get a phone call from the dealership. The dealership has got our paperwork. Finally, they've got our paperwork for the buyback. And this is what we had been offering. Now, prior to getting the paperwork, rewind a couple days, the lady had sent Bogna a worksheet, and we submitted to them basically what we wanted back. And on the worksheet, it says, what did you buy the car for? What did you pay tax for? What did you pay license for? Like everything, what aftermarket parts do you have for the car, right? So they asked this on the worksheet. please supply the aftermarket parts. Now, we have these parts that now we contacted Cobb and Montoon and Mishimoto, and some of these people, because it had been about 60 days now, flat out said, no, we won't take them back. Cobb wanted 30% restocking fee, which was like, we had $1,000 in Cobb stuff. We were going to take a $300 loss plus the shipping loss, plus we were going to have to pay to ship all this stuff back. So it was going to be a upwards of 40% loss. So we put all of this in there, and we were just going to pile it in the car, and there you go. And actually, my bad, we were actually still at this point, up to about 3 weeks ago, we were actually, Bogna still wanted another Fiesta ST. And it blew my mind. I was like, look, I was over it. But when the representatives started to not return our calls, not let us talk to management, I sat down with Bogna and I says, we can't buy another car. If you guys don't know, she already had a Fiesta ST prior. This was her second Fiesta ST. Both of them have been lemoned. So the first time, again, employees that could give two shits about their job and could give two shits about Ford, they were just too lazy to fix Bogna's car. They didn't want to tear the car apart and fix the car. This one was a little bit different, and I do want to address. Someone left a comment of how did you expect them to find the leak if they didn't tear the car apart? I get it. They had to tear the car apart, but nobody can deny it. Representatives from Ford to dealers, everything. The car wouldn't have been the same at 200 miles. We would have rattles, we would have shakes, we would have squeaks. That's why we didn't want to keep the car, is simply because it just wouldn't have been the same. So I tell Bogna, I was like, look, we can't buy another Ford. There's no way. So we kind of start to peek around at different cars. So stay tuned. We've got got a new car. Maybe. Hold on. I'll get to that in. So finally they send Bogna the offer letter. And in the offer letter, it didn't include the aftermarket parts. And it didn't include her insurance. She's paid, I think the car is like $140 a month in insurance. We live in California, by the way. If you guys want to know what insurance costs, I pay almost $800 to insure 3 cars, 2 motorcycles, my home, and my business. $800 a month. So they're not going to pay for Bogna's insurance, and they're not going to pay for the aftermarket parts. So then we get the phone call from the dealership that the paperwork is there, and this is mid last week. So finally Bogna's like, look, let's start looking at cars. So we went car shopping 2 weekends ago, looked at a couple different cars. We'll talk about that in a second. Hold on. But we went back to the dealership and was like, hey, they're not paying for the aftermarket parts. And they're like, no, they don't pay for that. And I was like, what? This is like the first time we heard of this. And everyone knew that we had these parts. So I've been lucky enough, the guys that are watching, thank you for the guys in the Fiesta ST community. I'm sorry you guys own these cars, but I know you guys got great deals. We were able to dump these parts and take a minimal loss in 2 days. So 2 days I listed this stuff, and one guy bought half the Cobb stuff, and so thank you. And then another guy locally bought the splitter in the front. So anyways, shipped a couple parts out. So we got rid of the parts. So we start to shop for a new car. We have found a new car, and I'm going to talk about the new car in a second. So we get a phone call from Sonny at the dealership, and he states that the paperwork is there. So come and get the paperwork. So we I go by there, and he's like, oh, Bogdan needs to be here to sign the paperwork. And I was like, is there a way? Because they're it's not far. It's a half an hour away or something like that. But I was coming through that one day, and I was like, is there a way that I can just take the paperwork? And he's like, okay, that's fine. Just take the paperwork. So I go, and we bring the paperwork home. And Bogna starts to read through the paperwork, and there's this form that says, I, Bogna, agree that I've received a check for the compensation for this amount, and it's literally blank. And I'm signing over the card to Ford. And so I call Sonny, and I was like, what? Wait, what? We're not going to sign paperwork that says that we've received blank amount of money. Not yet. We're not going to do it. So he's like, you have to wait for the check to sign that paperwork. But he told us we had to sign the paperwork and send it right off. So we have paperwork. Bogdan's made the second payment on the car. We're still paying for insurance on the car. And we have paperwork for the buyback. And we've accepted the offer. We've accepted the offer through Ford that says basically we're just going to take, we're going to take it up the ass. But we are. And take a loss on the car. And, almost 3 months of time gone, right? And we just said, you know what, let's cut the cord. Let's get rid of the Ford. Let's get rid of Ford. And so we have decided that we're not going to get another Fiasco ST. Now, new cars, if you guys made it this long, thanks for sticking around. You guys are going to get a sneak peek on what we have bought. And small problem already. So, Bogna has bought a new car. So she decided on a 2018, and the reason why we got an 18, not a 19, because we got a steal of a deal. So I'll talk about that in a second. Subaru BRZ. That's the new car. So we found an 18 model, which is last year's model year, and it was fully loaded. It's the one with the additional suspension package and the big brakes. The Brembo brakes are like humongous on this thing. But we decided that we were going to go that route. And so we found one locally, and we went and picked it up. And when we picked it up, there was a scratch on the fender. So we had the car for 2 days, and it had to go back to the dealership. They fixed the scratch on the fender, and they had to do some recall on the radio update. So I went and picked up the car on Friday, and I would show you guys the car, but we don't have the car. So they gave us the car back, and it was absolutely filthy dirty. And so I did a quick wash on it, and I noticed that there was a lot of problems and imperfections in the paint that they had just painted. So I also noticed that there was a couple other little problems with the car. So with the Ford, I just thought, you know what, I just want to take it back to the dealership. So I took it back to the dealership, and he's like, hey, no problem, we'll get it taken care of. So I don't have the car, but I'll give you guys a little bit. Thank you guys again for sticking around. If you guys haven't hit the subscribe button and you want to see what's up next, make sure you hit the subscribe button, comment down below. Thank you guys for the support on this. And thank you guys for sticking around. Smash that like button, subscribe. But stick around for this build, because we are supercharging this BRZ. We've already been shopping for this thing. This thing, if you guys know BRZs, you guys know that this car has so much. But we're going to supercharge the BRZ. So stick around. But anyways, I'm going to wrap up this video. Thank you guys for the support on the Fiasco ST. I will give a final update when we are done with this. Thank you guys again for sticking around. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and most of all, give me a comment down below. Let me know what's going on with you guys. So thank you guys. Till next video, We'll see you in that BRZ.